All right, hello everyone and welcome to INTE 120, Interiors for Revit. Revit for Interiors, there we go. I've gone ahead and already opened Autodesk Revit. It does take a minute or two to open, so I went ahead and did that so you didn't have to sit through that on the video. But to get to this screen, you'll just open your application. So that would just be double clicking on your Revit icon in your computer or your Windows Explorer view to File Explorer view to open up the program. This is the home page that you're going to see here, and we're just going to start a project here and then take a look through the Revit interface in this video. We'll get into tools and modeling later on. But right here is just some sample projects that you can look into. These are just the defaults from Autodesk that are some examples for you. But for us to get started, we're going to go ahead and create a new model. So it's going to be over here on the left-hand side. We're going to go to Models. We're going to go to New. And then we're going to select a template file here. So we have just a couple options, Imperial, Multidiscipline, or Metric. We are Imperial based here in the US, so I'm going to stick with Imperial. And then I'm going to default to say create new project, and I'm going to leave it at that. We want to make sure that we are creating a new project, not a project template. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And it's going to generate a new project file for me. All right, I do want to make sure that I do a save as, so I save my project. So to go up to your file and do a save as, we're going to save it just as a project here. And just saving, you just save that to your desktop, or if you have a specific folder set up for, for this class, you could save it there as well. Just track where you're saving your files so you can reference them later. I'm just going to leave it here as project 1. All right, now let's talk through a little bit of our Revit interface here. Up along the top, we have some shortcuts, and these tools will make more sense as we talk through them throughout the semester. But those are kind of some of the most used, which is why they have them up here on the top. Then we have our ribbons here across the top, all these different ribbons. So I'll talk through what each one of those are and what we're going to explore this semester. So first up, we have our architecture tab. And so this is going to relate to typical architectural discipline, some of our modeling, and we'll use some of these elements for interiors as well. Walls, doors, windows, some curtain systems, rooms, all sorts of different stuff in here. There's also a tab for the structure. This would typically used by your structural engineer. We will not be getting into that for our interiors class. Same thing for the steel, precast, and then the systems will be related more to your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So we won't be diving into any of these tabs here. We'll use the insert tab sporadically. This is really related to linking files and communicating back and forth with other file types. We'll also use the annotate tab. The annotate tab is related to annotations, which are 2D elements. So it could be dimensions, detail lines, filled regions, which if you're familiar with AutoCAD would have been like a hatch. We have the Analyze tab. We won't be getting into this either. It's for some other systems. Massing and site related to, the exterior of the building, more of a civil application and landscape, not for us. The Collaborate tab you're only going to use, that would be something more that you'll use working in an office and working with cloud files. We won't use it for this class either. The View tab, we'll work with this a lot. This is related to the views that you're going to see down here. I'm going to talk you through the project browser. But we'll be working with the View tab and creating new views. We'll use the Manage tab a little bit for certain tools. This is kind of, overall model management. The add-ins are going to be specific. We won't get into those in this class. Those are kind of more specific tools that can be loaded in. And then our Modify tab. And we'll spend a lot of time on our Modify tab. This is where all the tools are for modifying your model. All right, so I want to jump back to the Architecture tab here. And then let's talk about our properties and our project browser. So our properties are related to whatever is selected. So right now you can see it's just a floor plan here. And these are just, if I click on the drop down, these are different types of plans that are available in this template. We're going to be sticking with architectural plans for our work throughout the semester. And then this information here is the instance properties for this plan view. So you have, for we have scale, we have some different visibility graphics, which we'll talk about later, some color schemes, also different stuff here, but these properties relate to this view. And then we also have type properties as well. All right, so those are going to be important. We'll talk about those a lot throughout the semester, our instance properties and our type properties. And remember, those are found on the properties bar. If I had something modeled like a wall or a chair and I select that wall or chair, the properties of that item are then going to be reflected here in this properties window here. All right, our project browser is going to show us all of the views that we have created in our project. So the template already has some created for you by default. So every time you start a project with that template, you'll get these views. So you can see the floor plans here at level 1 and level 2. That's one of the ones that we're in right now. You can tell whenever you, the view that you're in will always be, the text will be bold. You'll see that I can click on other views. And by doing that, you'll see the properties change, right? Because that's what's selected, but you'll notice that this screen didn't change at all. So that whichever one is in bold is the one that is open that you're viewing. So if I double clicked on this L1 here, I can navigate to that view very easily, just a simple double click. And you'll notice that this now became, the text became bold. All right, so that is that is a ceiling plan. I can open also, let's open some elevations here. All right, and then let's go with a section. And these are all empty right now, right? Because we haven't modeled anything, that'll come later. So these are all of our different view types. You'll see as I open them, they do remain open so that you can work back and forth between various views. If you get a lot of views open, you can look at the various views you have open up here. You know, sometimes if you're working along and you end up with like 15 or 20 views open, you're going to want to kind of close some of those. That way you keep your the amount of views open, it'll move faster. So if you start to get bogged down, check how many views you have open. If I want to close all of the other views, I can click on this little button right next to it, and whichever view I have open will remain, and you'll see these little headers disappear. So let me click on this, and then I'm just down to one view. If I did want to have two views open and have them next to each other, which is really nice sometimes if you're working in floor plan and you want to see the elevation changing, I can have both these views open. I can just hit WT, and then that's window tile, WT, shortcut on the keyboard. And if I hit ZA, it's going to zoom all. And then that's going to zoom those views to those windows. You can do the window tile with as many views as you want. But again, if you have like 20 views open, I would recommend against it, as those will be very small views and it'll be very hard to see and work in. All right, so that covers our views. We have different types here, and we'll learn about creating some other types throughout the semester as well. We also have, there's some 3D views, but again, we don't have anything modeled yet, so you wouldn't see anything in the 3D there. You just see some kind of general scope boxes. Moving down, we have our legends and schedules. Those are related to more of the sheets, and we'll get into those. Okay, and then we have our sheets themselves. So all of these views up above are views that will go onto sheets eventually. And let me open up one of these here. Let me take a look at it. I'm going to go ahead and close these other views so we can just zoom in on this. There we go. All right, so the sheets are what you're going to be putting the views on. So you can see that this one here is my first floor architectural plan. So it's already pre-set up in here for that. So that is going to be that view that we looked up here, this L1 view, that's already pre-populated on the sheet. And we'll cover placing views on sheets and everything too, but just know that some of that comes pre-set up in the template. All right, that covers it for our first video.